All right. We're doing Extra Life this year. Play games, mash buttons, roll dice, and help kids along the way. Stick around at the end, and I'll tell you more. Now, pretend there's an edit here. Well, my editing skills are crap, but can the same thing be said about it? Stick around and find out. Let's see here. Clink, 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 dong, clink, clink, dong, clink, dong, dong, clink. Hi, I'm Peter Franson from christiangeekcentral.com and Spirit Blade Productions. This is my uncut review of It. Let's see here. The IMDb synopsis reads, in the town of Derry, the local kids are disappearing one by one, leaving behind bloody remains. In a place known as the Barrens, a group of 7 kids are united by their horrifying and strange encounters with an evil clown and their determination to kill it. Alright, I have not read the book. I only have foggy memories of the TV miniseries that starred, what's his name? I said it out loud on the drive home. Dude from all kinds of... Tim Curry! Oh man, that took some effort. Anyway, I have only vague memories of that series, so I'm just coming at this as much as I can from like, okay, this is another movie, you know. To me, this felt like a coming-of-age horror drama. It had some things in common in my experience with Super 8, except this was like a supernatural murdering demon clown instead of, aliens, but still focused on characters and their individual personalities and some of their struggles, and young kids, and also in the 80s, so it definitely had a lot of things in common with me with Super 8, and those individual struggles are of course broken up by frequent horror encounters with the evil clown and his weird, disturbing supernatural creations. It also has frequent light humorous moments playing off of the awkwardness of kids who are passing through their early teenage years. I love monster movies. I would call this a monster movie, and I love monster movies that slowly reveal details of the monster over the course of the movie until it's fully known and understood, almost. I mean, there's always more they can reveal in the sequels. At the end of the movie, in all of its horrific glory, I think of Predator and Aliens and, the first Alien especially, The Thing, Jeepers Creepers. I love that formula. And while I learned some things about Pennywise the Clown, they only scratched the surface of his origins, and I left the theater feeling unsatisfied in that regard. I also felt suspense during the movie, but rarely fear while watching. I've seen several, movies that are based on being creepy and disturbing rather than like jump scares and stuff, and I would say this one is going more for that than jump scares, though it does have a number of jump scares. But I've seen creepy, disturbing movies that have affected me more, and I'm not particularly afraid of clowns, but I was still close enough to the edge of my seat to stay interested and not look at my watch very often. I haven't read the book, and like I said, I barely remember the miniseries, but I realized near the end we weren't going to see a flash-forward section of the story to adulthood with these characters as we did in the miniseries. Just before the credits roll, Chapter 1 is placed on the screen, indicating a likely sequel. We'll cover that ground, and looking online, I confirmed that a 2019 release is scheduled for Chapter 2. As far as the cast, in the kids, there was only one face that was kind of familiar to me. None of these actors I felt like were bad, but now and then they felt like their performances were inspired by adult actors that they had been watching, and so their performances every now and then would feel a little bit too grown up. Of course, the story also has these kids isolating themselves from adults and trying to solve their problems on their own without help from parents or police. But there are only examples of parents, and the only examples of parents and police in this movie I thought were deeply flawed or even villainous, and so the isolation makes some sense, unlike in other movies of this type where the kids just stupidly don't tell any grown-ups about the crap they're going through. I also wonder if Pennywise the Clown would have been creepier to me if the actor played him as kind of like straight, happy, friendly, despite being in the midst of doing horrific deeds, rather than what he was going for, which was a more straightforward, obvious menace, and the design of his makeup and stuff was had a more obvious menace to it. And I wonder if they would have juxtaposed more this friendly, legit, happy clown with horrific, bloody monstrosities, if that would have been more unsettling to me. I don't know. But anyway, as far as the stunts and visuals, I'll just talk about the visuals briefly. The combinations of practical and CG effects are always appreciated by me, and horror movies seem to use practical effects more often often than sci-fi, which often just totally goes CG. And horror, they use practical effects more, especially for gore. And so there was, I felt like, a good balance for my taste between both of those kinds of effects for me here. Although the CG was nothing groundbreaking. As far as relevance, I always try to ask myself, is there anything of worthwhile moral or philosophical or spiritual significance going on in the themes? Oh man, there's a leaf blower very nearby. That jump out to me and that might stimulate worthwhile thought or conversation. Well, in this movie, nothing really jumped out to me in that regard thematically, but I would say, after seeing this movie, I'd love to see more movies of this type, featuring kids and stuff, where there is an adult somewhere, a teacher, a police officer, someone that protagonist kids can get help from. Bullying, parental abuse, and general insecurities while growing up can damage people for life, and especially if they don't have anyone to help them through those things. So recognition that there are likely people older and wiser than us that we can turn to, both as kids and now as adults, I think would be nice to see more often in fiction. That said, I get that this story is this kind of larger-than-life representation of adolescents using demon clowns and consistently untrustworthy adults to kind of magnify and bring out those feelings that we commonly have during adolescence. So, it's not that big a deal. I get what they're going for and why they're doing what they're doing. So I have no idea what your tastes are, but if I were a time traveler, I would go back in time and say, Peter, wait. Rent this one shortly before the next movie comes out, because this story, while not having a lot of resolution, still feels like only half of a complete story. It's also not one that's going to be super engaging to you. It'll just be tense enough to keep you interested. So it's like a perfect sick day movie where you can just kind of veg out on the couch and go, oh yeah, I never did watch that. Let's pass the time doing that. It's rated R for violence, horror, bloody images, and for violence. All right, once again this year, Christian Geek Central is participating in Extra Life, which is a charity that raises funds for the Children's Miracle Network, providing free medical care to children and families who couldn't otherwise afford critical life-saving treatment. Joining our team to help out only requires a willingness to ask your family and friends to consider donating toward your fundraising efforts. Participants also usually do something fun and game-related to draw attention to their fundraising, like hosting a special game night at their house or their church, or as I'll be doing, performing a 24-hour gaming marathon, and I'm actually going to even be live streaming mine as I have for the last several years. The event is themed around any kind of gaming, including video games and tabletop games of any kind. So whichever you prefer, you can use as part of your way to draw attention to your fundraising. What you do to raise funds is really up to you, but I would love for you to consider joining the Christian Geek Extra Life team. As the team leader, I'll be here to help answer your questions, provide some helpful tips, and just in general be your fundraising cheerleader and help you out however I can. And also, in addition to that, draw attention to your fundraising as I'm able. You can get more info at extra-life.org. Remember, this is uncut video, so I'm not going to put it up on the screen. extra-life.org. And if you choose to sign up there, be sure to select Christian Geek Central as your team so I can get in touch and then help in whatever way I'm able with your fundraising. Fundraising can begin at any time, but our main push is going to be throughout the month of October leading up to November 4th, which is why I'm trying to do my main push for recruitment right now before October starts. So, and then on November 4th, that's the annual Extra Life Game Day. That'll be the kind of the climax of our fundraising as a team, and that's also the day that I'll be streaming my 24-hour video game marathon live and trying to stay awake while not throwing up like I almost did last year. Anyway, more details on my live stream as we get closer to it. Thanks for your consideration and for watching. Talk to you later. Bye-bye. Oh yeah, I gotta do the button. This isn't edited, Pater.